New on Curiosity Stream. How do you connect a 16th century potato to limitless energy production? Could Napoleon's toothpick have a direct link to a machine that predicts the future? And how can a 1700s conch shell chart a course to humans connecting their brains to the internet? James Burke's visionary series Connections returns for a new generation. Experience all new Connections. With monthly, annual, and bundled plans, find the one that works for you at curiositystream.com.
Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.
Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis, a podcast dedicated to the Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell case. Join us as we seek the truth and travel the long road to justice. Hey everybody, it's Thursday, kind of in the afternoon. We thought we would get one more podcast in before Fruit Loop gets on an airplane and goes out west. Lucky girl.
Yeah. Lucky I'm going to be in the middle of nowhere.
We've always said that murder charges will come down next week because she's not going to have internet access.
Yeah, like everything's going to happen and I'm not going to even know it until I get to the airport to leave.
So I've already told her, I will only text you if there is a family emergency or there are charges. So that way you don't have to wade through 5 pages of me just rambling on like I normally do.
Yeah, there's one spot that I can drive about 20 minutes and pull off on the side of the road. It's called Cell Phone Hill. That's what it's called. Yeah.
That's so weird. But you've been super busy. I haven't seen you, haven't really talked to you much. So you're in your mode. Are you getting there? Are you almost ready to go?
Yeah, we're almost ready.
That's good.
I'm having to think ahead of time because I'm leaving early than everybody else and having to get everything lined up. Some people are driving, so getting stuff to them to bring in the cars. What can we get to when we're in the middle of nowhere, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be good, though.
Yeah, you're going to have a great time, and I'll just be here sloshing along with virtual school.
Yeah.
So we've both been crazy busy, and but we wanted to get one more in. If charges drop, we said in the last podcast, we won't be able to do a podcast until she's back. But if they come down, we definitely will have a good one waiting for you guys.
Cool.
Yeah. So there's been some stuff in the last week or so that's been filed, and we thought we would go over some of that stuff today, and then we would talk about the joinder. And but first, there was an order issued where Lori can wear her street clothes to all the hearings now.
Yeah, I'm like, is this like late or what? Because she's already been wearing them.
Yeah. They let people wear their street clothes. It's not a big deal. She did have on a different sweater this past hearing, though.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that. It was almost like it was trying to make her look angelic or something. I don't know. It had like a flowy look to it, I thought.
It was just kind of off the shoulder. That other one was a little more librarian.
Yeah.
But we've talked about it. One of the strategies for defense attorneys at trial is to make their client look as innocent and small as possible. And I don't think it'll be successful, but it is a tactic.
Yeah.
So, and Lori's trial has been moved up a month. It was originally scheduled for, I believe, April, and now they've moved it back. So we're going to go through these dates that are coming up. I tweeted these out and put them on the Facebook page, but we're going to go over them right now for what's coming up because Chad has some hearings next month at the end, and these are for Pryor's motions. The motion to dismiss is going to be heard on October the 29th at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. I think it's Mountain Time.
Yep.
And that same day on the 29th, they're going to hear the motion for the joinder at 10 a.m., which is right after that hearing. And then on November 24th at 10 a.m. Mountain Time will be the argument for the change of venue.
Gotcha. So the two on the 29th, they'll kind of be just run together.
Yeah, it'll just be one after the other. It's just the motion to dismiss, it could take an hour. I don't know. I don't really know what Pryor's going to say. But
Didn't he already do this once?
not to dismiss. No, he filed the motion to dismiss. but
Okay, so this is the hearing.
This is the actual hearing for
Gotcha.
it, and the same for the joinder. The joinder might be the more interesting of the two, I think. Well, I think it definitely will be, because there's a chance we could start to hear some of his defense, maybe the structure of it. He's going to have to give a reason, I think, and provide evidence. Now, his reason right now is the media coverage.
Yeah.
And we'll talk a little bit later about what we've heard people say about his argument and whether it's a good one or not. I've said in the last two podcasts that these trials were 2 weeks. I'm going to correct myself and say they are 3 weeks.
Well, I think I agreed there were 2, or I might have said 2. I don't even know.
I don't know, but the trial is going to be 3 weeks. His pre-trial is set for December 10th of this year, and the actual trial is going to be January the 11th through the 29th, and that hasn't changed. Lori's pre-trial now is February 25th, and then the actual trial March 22nd through April the 2nd, which obviously is going to be dependent on if more charges drop. These dates will, not happen if murder or conspiracy to commit murder charges come down.
Yep. So then there was some more hearings, right? The guardianship hearing,
Yeah.
and that's on the 30th,
Mhm.
September 30th. Do you think this could be about the remains?
I thought I remembered that the guardianship case was closed after they found the bodies. Remember, there was a filing that the case was dismissed or something to
Yep.
that effect.
Yep.
So the only reason I could think they would have a guardianship hearing, and I don't know, would be for the remains, because as far as we know, they haven't buried the kids yet.
Yeah.
We haven't heard anything. Now, they could have done it privately, but as far as we know, they have not released the bodies back to the families. I don't know at this point if Lori has a say over the remains since they were found murdered,
I would hope not.
but there is that guardianship hearing that is still on the docket for the 30th. And if we find anything else about it, we'll let you know. But, and then we had just tweeted out that Melani Pulowski's status conference was continued, and that was scheduled for tomorrow. And I thought, maybe is she in labor or is she delivered? But we had a source very quickly inbox us and say, as far as they knew, she was not in labor. So,
Dude,
it's like an elephant pregnancy.
I'm going to say, what is that? It's like a whole year, right?
An elephant's like, what, 2 years?
Oh, it's a long time. I know.
Yeah. But that's our sources told us that as far as they know, she has not delivered, or she is not currently in labor, just maybe more of a standard continuance. And continuances happen all the time.
Yeah.
It's nothing new to this case. And maybe I read too much into it, but I just figure it's mid-September now. She's got to be due to have that baby any day now.
Yeah.
So we're going to go on and talk about the joinder a little bit. We're going to kind of dive back into that. We touched on it last time, but we've had a little time to kind of research things, and we've watched several shows about it. And the one thing that really stood out to me is several defense attorneys that I've watched talk about this have said that they don't think that Pryor's argument of it being because of media attention is going to be good enough of a reason for the joinder or the objection to the joinder to be granted.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
I just wonder if, honestly, not allowing the joinder is going to be grounds for an appeal down the road. It's sort of a catch-22.
Yeah.
It's the same set of facts. It's the same charges, essentially. Chad has more charges, but the state wants this to consolidate all this. This is a huge case. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of witnesses, and we went over this.
Yeah. I mean, I get defense-wise, like the defense, I get that possibly down the road they could appeal. But yeah, like you said, it's so much information and testimonies, and there's a lot of money tied up in that.
Yeah, and we've also talked about the toll on the families.
Yeah.
And so this kind of alleviates the need for them to travel twice as much, hear the testimony 2 times, and But it'll be interesting to see what the judge decides.
Yeah.
It's going to be a very interesting case, regardless of if they're joined or if they're separate.
Yeah.
It's
What are you hoping for? We didn't. I just that's like spur of the moment question. We didn't even talk about it.
No. It's good. I sort of either way I'm cool with. I think that either way would be incredibly. I don't want to say fun to watch because it's not the word I'm looking for, but
no, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, because together you're going to have a very delicate dance of not pointing fingers.
Yeah.
It's going to be really hard to point fingers if this is a joint trial.
Yeah.
At the same time, if they flip, and I think that Chad is flipping if he hasn't, then separate trials is just going to be slinging mud at each other, and that's just way more drama.
Yeah. And that's a like crazy part for me is Means has said, no, we want the joinder.
Yeah. And I was pretty shocked.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Pryor's like, no.
Yeah. But, is this a situation where we're starting to see where Pryor does have experience as a criminal defense attorney?
Yeah.
And so I think at this point, Pryor has to be thinking of the worst case scenarios and what are the small things that he can do to help Chad. And so obviously not having a trial with the woman who's the mother of the kids who were found on your property, maybe he just wants this defense to be standalone and nothing to do with Lori.
Yeah.
So,
I think for me, like, and this is like totally selfish and, whatever, but I don't want them to be in the same courtroom together because I don't want her to be able, you know what I mean? Like, this whole thing has been like, oh, she hasn't seen him. Mm-hmm. She hasn't been able to talk to him.
But she could have went to those other 2 hearings that she waived and seen him, but she
True.
didn't do that.
She could have seen him on video, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's one of mine. I'm like, no, I don't want you to be able to sit at the same table and whatever else.
Mm-hmm. I mean...
That's just my immature...
but it makes sense.
I don't, I want to be like, Neener, you haven't seen him. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
But I think the general consensus for a lot of the criminal defense attorneys is that the joinder is right for this case. This is why they make joinders. It's the same set of facts. Her kids are on his property.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
It's the same crime. It's just I worry about appeals down the road.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that the media attention thing is a strong enough argument. You're going to have that regardless.
I think that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
It's not a very good argument. I mean, okay, so it's mainstream media all day long now.
Yeah.
Anytime anything happens in this case, it doesn't just go to East Idaho News. Now it's going to international news sites. We're there. The train has left the station.
Yeah, it doesn't. Everybody knows who you are.
Right.
Yeah.
So for Idaho law, defendants can be joined if they are alleged to have participated in the same act or transaction or in the set of acts or transactions constituting an offense or offenses. All of the defendants need not be charged in each count. We know Chad has more charges. Chad has the same set of conspiracy charges as Lori, but he also has charges that means he actively participated in the crime. So for Lori, she knew about it, she helped plan it, but Chad was actually hands-on.
Yeah. And
so his time is obviously different as far as the possible penalties. And could that be an issue in court that Mark Means could argue, which is, look, he's charged with separate crimes that she has not been charged with. So does that taint the jury into thinking she's more guilty because of his separate set of charges? I'm just looking at what are they going to argue down the road?
Sure. But with that statement you just made, that Means could say that, don't you think that would be why he would say, I don't want to join her?
Yeah, definitely.
But he didn't. What the world?
So I think the advantage for Lori is that it could sort of make Chad seem more like a ringleader because Lori's always sort of played it down. And at least when in court and when Nate was talking, she's kind of portrayed herself as this small little meek person. And so with Chad, I mean, he sort of is seen as the boogeyman of all of this. I think just out of the gate, when I've talked to people that aren't familiar, they'll say, well, yeah, that's the mom and like her stepdad and I hate when they call the kids Chad, the kid's stepdad, because
No.
They were dead before they were married, and
Yeah.
we're not going to give him any kind of a father or dad title with JJ and Tylee.
No.
But
No.
is it sort of a, because I will say people I've talked to have said, well, yeah, that woman, like the husband killed the kids and buried them on his property. And I'm like, whoa, you got 2 hours. Let me explain how this really went down.
Yeah.
So, but in the public eye for people that don't follow it, Chad, from what I've seen, seems like the worst guy, even though she's the mother of these kids.
Yeah. And I go back and I remember watching, there were several videos that Nate did when they were in Hawaii and they're walking. And when he makes a comment, she looks to Chad. Like you can see her look to him like she's following him and waiting to see what he does.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that he is the total ringleader of the thing, but I just remember a few times seeing her do that. And it was almost like, okay, what are you going to say? So it wasn't like she just, a couple times she jumped in and, said, that's great, whatever it was. But for me, that kind of, she was like looking to him like, okay.
And I think that's going to be the defense that Mark Means, if Lori flips, is going to have to use, which is you use her history and she's manipulative and we've seen it and we've covered it. But she never killed her kids until Chad came in the picture. So from a defense standpoint, I'm not saying this is how I feel.
Yeah.
If I'm Mark Means, I'm saying, okay, but we didn't have these issues until Chad, until the light and the dark email, until these beliefs that he had that were influencing her. I think that's how Mark Means has to go if Lori flips. I don't know why she wouldn't flip at this point. Maybe not objecting to the joinder is strategy. Maybe they have a plan for not objecting that would benefit her.
Yeah, I think he's going to be, he's going to try to portray her as like the damsel in distress.
For sure.
Rapunzel, let down your hair. Like she's locked in a tower,
Which is following suit with everything we know about her and marriages and relationships.
Yep.
The victim, never responsible for anything bad that's happened to her or her kids or Tylee because everything was Joe Ryan's fault.
Yep.
So this isn't going to be any different. I
don't think so either.
I don't see it. But yeah, I think that's how Mark Means maybe has to go.
Yeah. And I think like you said, there's going to be a ton of mainstream media if they're joined or not. Like it's
going to be double. Really, if you think about it, if these trials aren't joined, the media attention is going to be double.
Yeah.
Whoever goes first, I think they're going to be the ones that sort of set the tone.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be basically the same information.
Right. It's going to be pretty much duplicate. Now, we'll see more evidence released that'll show Chad's cell phone pings and that kind of thing that may pinpoint him closer to the deaths. We don't know where he was the night the kids were killed. I'm interested to see if those cell phone pings were at Lori's townhouse.
Yeah.
So there's just so much we don't know. But
well, I'm gonna tell you, if they don't join her, if it's separate, like I look at this as I was a coach, so I look at this as a like a coaching standpoint. I mean, how do you determine you go flip a coin? Okay, you're going first because I'm going to get to cheat and see everything they've got. And I'm going to sit here and have my whole defense laid out because I've seen all your playbook and everything you got.
Uh-huh. And I've heard defense attorneys say whoever goes first has a slight advantage, but I kind of feel like who goes next?
Yeah.
So I think Lori may have the advantage if these trials go separate.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And if they go when they're scheduled to go based on whether or not there are future charges.
Now, is there enough evidence that, I mean, we know, you know what I mean? Like, it ain't going to matter.
Right. Yeah.
It's not going to matter. I'll show you my whole playbook. It's not really going to matter because there's so much evidence and your client is just so guilty. It's not,
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
So I was watching Court TV, their little special about the joinder, and Julie Grant says that in her opinion, united is better. Let them both just point the finger at Alex.
Yeah, I still don't see how they go down that road.
No, because if you remember on the phone call with Melanie Gibb, Chad, and Lori, and I think this was in December, so you got to imagine at this point, both the kids are dead. Tammy Daybell's dead. I don't think Alex was dead at this point.
No, I want to say this was, before that. Yep.
So Melanie said that she asked Alex about JJ's whereabouts, and he said, you don't want to know where he's at. So Melanie is expressing this to Lori, what Alex had said. And what does Lori say?
He doesn't know.
So if she wants to say, hey, my brother did all this without my knowledge, well, in December, you have her saying, Alex doesn't know where the kids are. He has no clue.
Yep.
So if I'm Rob Wood, I'm jumping all over that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you say now Alex did everything, but you said to Melanie, no, he didn't.
Yeah.
He's clueless.
And it's not hearsay. Like, we hear you say that.
Right. I still think one of the reasons she did not come to that preliminary hearing is because she didn't want to hear herself in a courtroom full of people with Kay and Larry and everybody else who was in there with her own words echoing off those walls.
Yep.
With all these lies.
Yeah, she delayed it because she's going to have to hear it eventually, but she delayed it, yeah.
Unless she pleads.
True.
But I don't know. It just, I can't imagine having to sit in court and hear my lies about my now deceased kids echoing.
Yeah, and with that recording, that thing is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just blows holes all in Lori's defense.
Exactly. I think a lot of her defense is shot because originally she was telling her family that this was a custody dispute with Kay. But yet she tells Melanie Gibb, well, I told Kay I had cancer and she took him.
Yeah, like the whole, yeah.
So she's contradicted herself just on the base facts of, well, it's a custody dispute, but I gave him to Kay because I lied to her to make her take JJ. And then if they blame it on Alex, you can't. I mean, maybe you can, but Wood's going to be pointing out all these little contradictions that she's made that are caught either probably in text or voicemail.
If she was Pinocchio, her nose would be from here to Botswana by now.
That's so true.
Yeah, like.
Yeah, I did. And then, we've always talked about her actions, which is, I mean, if you have two kids, and they have always been with Lori from what we've seen. They've moved with her, except for the time that she left JJ for 50-something days with
58
with Charles when her and Tylee went to Hawaii and wherever else.
Yep.
That all of a sudden you have a situation where you've been told your kids are gone. Let's just say that her defense is to play dumb. Okay, well, Alex and Chad said they had him in a bunker. JJ has autism. And the fact that she's bebopping around Hawaii being, the fact that she didn't produce the kids to the court, all it would have taken was a current picture with the date. And we know that couldn't have happened because they were dead. So the fact that she allowed herself to be arrested for these desertion charges and brought back to Rexburg and still is in jail.
Yeah.
But the fact that, when Chad told the reporter, they're safe. They're safe. It's just all this stuff's going to come back and bite them so hard.
I can tell you this much. I don't have kids. Like, I've been around yours long enough. No,
and that made you not want to have kids.
I do not want to. No, like, I've been around, like, your kids. And if they were in danger, truly in danger, I would go into hiding with them.
Exactly.
I wouldn't leave them somewhere.
Right.
Like, I would be there so I could help protect them, not... so.
Right. It screams the opposite of everything a mother would do if her kids are in danger. Number one, you go to the cops.
Yeah.
And you say, hey, I have somebody threatening to kidnap, my kid. And you go the normal means to protect yourself and your kid. But yeah, that's a good point. The fact that she just did her own thing and bolted the day after, in the middle of the night, after the hearing, none of that's gonna really be easy to excuse.
Yeah, not the hearing, but the search.
Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.
Sir, yeah.
Well, they came back the next day for the search warrant.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then Ashley Banfield said that they were all giving their opinions. It's interesting to hear everybody's opinions because they have a really good panel.
Yeah,
on
and
court
they've
TV.
been doing this for a long time.
For years. They're very
Yeah.
seasoned. Ashley Banfield's opinion, she thinks that with Lori not objecting to the joinder, it kind of shows she's still the devoted wife, religious, submissive to the husband. You follow his lead. And then her argument is, hey, I thought my kids were alive. And then could the joinder and not objecting be that it's an effort to show that she trusts him? And in that, she's trying to reduce her responsibility.
Okay. So I get that. But this is my thought. If I truly did not know my kids were dead, once I find out they're dead, I'm coming out, guns blazing. I had nothing to do with this. I don't want
Right.
anything to do with you. Who did I marry? All this to separate.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have been the first one to say, no, I don't want to joinder, and I'm rolling. But up until now, we've seen no evidence that that's anything that her defense is saying.
Right. And then if you bring in the story that we read last week about the woman who was in jail with Lori, and that really, I don't think that can come in. But for us to kind of analyze it, she's obsessed with the media attention about her case and not the fact that her kids were found buried on Chad's property.
Yeah.
All about me, all about me. She kind of always wanted to be famous. And even though it's for all the wrong reasons, it sounds like she's really sort of just eating it up.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. And Ashley felt like that the position of the good wife could sway some jurors potentially. And she again reiterated her opinion that the phone call on the day that they were searching for the bodies, and she was on that phone call with Chad, Ashley feels like the confusion that she felt could be used as a defense of, are they searching the house? And we talked about this last time, but it is sort of a good point, and we're just literally talking strategy, not our
Sure.
personal feelings, because I
Sure.
think that, your opinion is what about the phone call?
Well, she knows she's being recorded, and she's a manipulator, and she is going to try to sound as innocent or blonde or,
Right. Yeah.
as she can.
Right. And then Julie Grant comes in and says, nah, she knew where the bodies were. She's just being manipulative, which,
Yeah.
And Mike Aiella, his opinion about the joinder was that Chad has a more dominant personality and that Lori, her act is to come off as more meek. And it could show her as weaker next to him, which might play into the hands of the jury if they see her as any sort of a victim with Chad. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think that would happen, honestly. I think that there's just so much we don't know that's going to be very incriminating and pretty solid as far as everybody's involvement. But that was just his sort of take on why she may not be objecting to that joinder is she just looks like a good little wife.
Yeah.
So,
And I think, sometimes they call her Daybell and sometimes Vallow.
yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes it's Vallow Daybell.
Mm-hmm.
I think Pryor referred to her as Vallow, and we were like,
Yep.
here it comes. Like,
It's
he's
a sign.
separating. I mean, as much as Chad elbowed or leaned over and gave him pointers, he was almost like the assistant,
Yeah.
attorney or whatever. I would have thought if he referred to her as that he would have.
Yeah, corrected her. I
Yeah.
mean, corrected him.
Yeah, but he didn't.
No. And that was the last few hearings is Pryor is Miss Vallow, to where Mark Means is calling her Daybell. So maybe that right there is your proof about at least the turning.
I wonder, is he telling her this stuff? You know what I mean? Is he saying things that I don't know, that he's reading? Is he telling her, look, he's going to turn on you and,
yeah,
everything like that?
I think that just has to be the way Means is going. And if he doesn't just throw Chad under the bus and make her out to be this poor little brainwashed victim, I don't think they'll win with that. I really don't think they're going to win with any other excuse. It's just their gooses are cooked.
Yeah.
I don't see any way out of it. There's so much turmoil, and we talked about this last time. So many people are upset about the murder charges not dropping yet, but I have faith they're going to come.
Yeah.
It's not going to be, maybe when we expected. I mean, that day that Chad got arrested, I did not wake up thinking, oh, something big is going to happen today. It's going to come out of the blue. It's going to take us by surprise, and we're going to be like, whoa, okay, so this did happen.
Yep.
For months, we're wondering, are the kids alive or dead? And then one random day, we find out they're not. And Chad gets arrested. We wondered for months, when is he going to get locked up? It's all in time. It's easy to get caught up in little trivial things and really thinking outside the box as far as future charges. But I mean, if you look at what we know, there's no way that they're just going to be able to pin this all on Alex. No way, dude. No. Man, some of these groups need some Valium. People are stressing.
Yeah. And it's, you just have to, I mean, you just got to be patient.
Right. And you have to understand that, Chad and Lori both, they're charged with conspiracy. With Chad being charged with actually concealing, altering, destroying the evidence, Wood only has to prove Lori's involvement before the crime and that Chad and Alex actually finished the mission.
Yeah.
Why they want this joinder, I don't know, because I think for Lori to be grouped in with them two, I think there's no way they're going to be able to argue anything else. I think it's just going to make her look so bad. It's all agree. Looks bad. I mean, but I'm saying we're thinking along the lines of they have a jury that they have gathered who's not going to be impartial, even if they've heard about the case. So if I'm a juror, I'm thinking if I'm sitting on that jury panel and I'm hearing this, there's no way for me as a mother that I'm going to say she is so poor thing.
Yeah, and you think about it, if they say, okay, they think Chad's guilty, how do you separate it with her sitting there and say, okay, he's guilty, but she's innocent? There's no way.
No. Now, here's where I think the kicker comes in, maybe. And this could be a benefit to Lori if she had nothing to do with it. But I do think conspiracy is going to come in. So we're talking about Tammy Daybell. Lori knows what happened with Tammy. She knows how it was done, how it was planned. I think that is a trump card for her.
Yeah.
Because at what point she turns and she says, oh, by the way, do you want to know what really happened to Tammy and how we came to that and how it was executed and how we tried to shoot her, but it didn't work? So I think in that sort of thought, I think Lori has a slight advantage in turning, because if forensics and digital evidence cannot conclude what happened to Tammy, which I think digital will, Nate Eaton has said that he's been told that, and we've talked about it, that even without the autopsy, there may be enough for conspiracy to commit murder. It's been sent to the Attorney General, and they named murder, conspiracy to commit murder as possible charges.
Yeah.
But if they're missing pieces of that and they really need Lori, is that where she's facing 10 years, he's facing 20? Is that where you strike a deal?
Could be.
So all this stuff is coming up. It seems really kind of dry right now with news, but we're going to get spurts of big stuff.
Yeah.
And with new charges comes new probable cause affidavits, which has evidence.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to learn a lot more before the end of the year, because I don't think these trials are happening in January and March.
Yeah. And too, talking about Pryor's defense setup, the questions that he asked, it was kind of like, one of them was, he was referring to Chad as an author of fiction.
Oh, yeah.
I think he asked Melanie Gibb that or whatever, but that's interesting. It's like, okay, his novels or his books or whatever are fiction. They're made up. So
you try to disassociate Chad as being a prophet.
Yeah.
Because prophets have, some sort of a hold on people, and they have influence, and cult leaders and prophets in the past have been able to get followers to do things they want them to do. And that's not how Pryor wants a jury to see Chad.
Yeah. And you think about, I think Melanie Gibb's statement was, he would share stuff with Lori and then she would share it with him. So, it's, yeah.
So you were looking at some times with Alex's phone on the day the kids were buried.
Yeah.
And we were sort of wondering if maybe those graves were dug before Alex brought the bodies there. And so what times do you have?
So on September 6th, which this was, 3 days before?
Mm-hmm. 2 days.
2 days before Tylee was last seen. And then, so he was at Chad's house for like 11 to 12 minutes. And to me, that sounds like you're taking supplies or something.
That's a really good thought.
I mean, you're only there, 10, 11, 12 minutes. So, I mean, that's just what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, it does.
And then on 9/9, he's there 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm. Now, as far as bringing in supplies, if you think about it, a lot of the evidence we don't know are going to be purchases. They're going to be visits to stores where they have him on surveillance buying duct tape or whatever. I think once this goes to trial, it'll all be spelled out.
Yeah.
At least his movements before he went to Chad's in the hours or days before that visit. Does he go buy stuff that would facilitate a crime?
Yeah. I mean, to me, it makes sense. And was that he's there 2.5 hours. Is that possible where the dismemberment came in?
Yeah.
So then on 9/23, he was there 17 minutes. So that was the day those pings were near the pond.
Right.
And we know that these times they're not there to dig. There's no way. I mean, that's in the affidavit. With I think that was the Lieutenant Ron Ball. I think he's a lieutenant, right?
Yep.
In his affidavit, they say that by the depths and widths of the graves, that it would be impossible for one person to have dug that grave, placed the body in it, placed the rocks, the paneling in the grave, and covered it back up in 17 minutes. There's no way.
Yeah, so we really think maybe Chad had dug the graves before Alex came with the bodies.
Yeah, but you made a great point when we were talking about this. It had to be close to the time, because how do you explain a big hole in your yard?
Right, and then to Tammy.
Yeah.
Or the kids.
Or, exactly. Like, how would you explain it? We know he sent that text telling her he burned some limbs and, shot a raccoon or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Another interesting thing that, and we've read these things 9 million times, from all the pings in and around the house on 9/6 and 9/25 was nothing in the backyard. Mm-hmm. So that was that's what we are thinking, taking supplies in, leaving whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And also the paneling that was removed from the pond area where JJ was buried, it was similar to paneling found in the barn located on the property.
Yeah. And we've really tried to figure out where she was dismembered. I think the only logical choice is that barn, because I don't think he would do it elsewhere and then have, they're stupid. We don't know what they found on search warrants on the truck. Did they find any DNA evidence that she had been bleeding in that truck? I don't know. But we were talking about, even with that, how risky to dismember a human if it happened in the barn. Because what if Tammy got sick at work and came home earlier? One of his 5 or 6 kids came over.
Yeah. I mean, Alex is there 2.5 hours.
Yeah. There was something going on with that. I mean, yeah. Yeah.
And we don't, in that 2.5 hours, we don't think they were digging like the grave for JJ, because, and by the affidavit, it said it was wider and deeper.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you have to explain a big hole in your yard. Well, why is that hole there?
Yep. Yeah.
So.
And I think, you know, sort of moving away from that, I think that Pryor has to consider her history with men. She throws everyone under the bus.
Yeah, like how do you not?
Yeah, so I think Pryor's just got to be, I think that's why he objected. Part of it is because of her history with men, which is none of it is good and fair. It's very one-sided, and how does it work for me?
Yeah, it's all about me.
Did you finish talking about those pings? I'm sorry.
No, I did. That was it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then another thought that I had was about these burner phones. If you think about it, they had 60 between all of them. Okay, so we know that Alex was pretty much tracked through his Google account, which, if you're not super up and up on how these apps work, Google, I think by default, follows you around and logs where you've been. What if they, on these burner phones, logged into their Gmail accounts and left them on there? And then we've got like this huge map of everywhere they went and what they did.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things. They had so many phones that there's no way you can keep track of all that.
And somewhere they slipped up if they were trying to be careful. 60 phones, I mean, you got, you know what I'm saying? It's like at some point you probably get careless.
Well, obviously, I mean, Alex had his with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I were going to commit a crime, I would leave my phone at home.
Yeah. Everybody hear that?
Yeah. I got the perfect alibi now after following these trials. I just leave my Netflix account on, run in and say, I was at home watching, Sherlock or something.
No, I'm going to say, I mean, I had to Google before we got on here. It was, how long does it take to dig a grave? And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, like that just alerted everybody and their mama.
Yeah, I definitely have a psychopath's Google history.
Yeah. Oh man.
There's a documentary that's on Netflix right now, and it's about social media and the perils of it and they were talking. I haven't watched all of it. I was actually watching like 10 minutes of it before you came over when I was folding my clothes, and it was talking about how every single keystroke is followed and kept.
That's crazy.
And that's good in crimes, because here's the thing. Other than my questionable search history about crimes and bodies and that kind of thing, if you're not doing anything bad, if somebody wants to be completely bored, come to my Google search history and take a look through it. If you're not doing anything wrong, I don't care.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't care.
As you're saying this, I'm staring at your coffee cup and it says, I solemnly swear that I am up to no good.
Yeah. Well, I have some secrets. That's my Harry Potter cup.
Yeah.
So what are we looking at currently as far as right now as it stands?
So Chad is facing up to 20 years if the sentences run consecutively. So it's 4 counts each, 5 years.
Yep.
Looks like Lori is facing 10 years, only 2 counts each, 5 years for the felony charges in Fremont County.
Mm-hmm.
And then she has 3 additional misdemeanor counts in Madison with a total of 2 years, 1 year, 1 year, and 2 6-month penalties.
Which, if she's convicted of those, I do believe the time she has served goes towards that. And she's been in jail, I'm doing my finger counting.
Here we go.
7 months.
I thought the last podcast you said 8. I'm just kidding.
Well, I'm just kidding. It's math, Fruit Loop. Come on. But yeah, so just little bits and pieces of news here and there that we just wanted to kind of pull together, and just some things that we've been thinking about and looking up. I just think these charges have to come sooner than later if they're going to come, and I do believe they will, because we're into the middle of September. If they're going to change trial dates and all that stuff, they're going to need to do it as soon as they can, because they're blocking off 3 weeks of this court schedule for the trial for these felonies that they have right now. Seems to me like they're going to have to pony up these charges sooner than later.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got courts on hold for 3 weeks in 2 separate cases right now.
Yep.
So maybe an early Christmas gift is to get some bigger charges. Charles Vallow, waiting on those. Tammy, Social Security fraud. The list goes on and on.
It's gonna come down like Niagara Falls. Like eventually, it's just gonna be Just overflowing of stuff coming.
Now, I'm curious to see when they get all this stuff wrapped up with a neat little bow, is it a situation where we get charges for the kids and Tammy at the same time? Maybe that would be awesome. Because I know her family at this point, I'm sure they're kept up to date as best as investigators can. But you think about Tammy's family, I'm sure they're ready for some justice and answers, because as far as we know, they haven't been told a cause of death.
Yep.
So there's so many people that are directly related to this case that are just sort of hanging in the balance. And I don't think Wood would keep them dangling like that unless it's absolutely necessary. There's a time for these charges to come. And maybe we'll figure it out or we'll know why it took so long. I just think it's investigative work. This is massive.
Yeah.
So,
and the good thing is they're in jail.
They ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
We say that all the time, but they're not. But I mean, we've read a couple of little things online this week that she is not thriving in jail.
Yeah.
Didn't you tell me you had seen somewhere that she looked horrible? And
yeah, there was somebody posted something that, and it was a confirmed post that she didn't look well.
Wait, let me get my violin and play it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of all we have.
Well, we took up almost 45 minutes.
That's crazy. I got to go put a casserole on now.
Yeah. We're hungry. Yep. But
yeah. Well, Fruit Loop, I hope you have a good mission. Everybody on Twitter has wished you well, and I'll hold down the fort here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be on Charge's watch.
That's right. And you can text me, and if I'm on Cell Phone Hill, I might get it.
I'm going to send you some smoke signals.
Yeah. I'll be riding down the road.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, we hope you have a safe trip, and look forward to being back here in our little studio doing what we love, which is this.
Yep.
So
sounds good.
All right, guys. We will be in touch. Keep an eye on the Twitter and the Facebook. We, even though she'll be gone, I'll be updating if anything crazy happens. And if not, we will see you guys in about 2 weeks?
Yeah, I guess so.
It's that math, ain't it? It got
I'm
you.
like, wait.
It got
yeah,
you. Get your fingers out, girl.
No,
Get your fingers out.
I fly back in on the 28th, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a Monday. That's a
okay,
Monday.
I ain't gonna lie.
What?
I ain't gonna lie. I'm dreading wearing this mask the whole time because you got to wear it through the whole airport, on the plane.
See, yeah, I know. They're not fun, but
no,
gotta stay
I understand.
safe.
Yeah, I gotta stay safe, but I'm dreading
But
that
what
part.
you could do is like put your head down on your arm like we used to do in class.
Yeah.
When you're sleeping, and then just, every now and then pull that mask down and get some, it ain't fresh air in the steel tube going across the country, but it's better than, and don't burp in your mask.
Yeah, it'd be like that one video we saw. What did I eat? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, safe travels to you, and we will be back in a couple of weeks, guys.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details. With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.